What's up everyone, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto could hear Kurama's secret rants. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. Kurama is bored. There is nothing to do within the seal other than try to break it, but that would take years. Plus, there's no point in killing a child who had nothing to do with Kurama's imprisonment. He could wait a few decades for the kid to die. Watching the outside world through the kid's eyes didn't help. Somehow the humans had gotten the stupid idea that Kurama was possessing the kid or something. Frankly, that idea was stupid. Aside from being rather insulting that they would think Kurama would possess a child who did nothing to him, why would he stay in a village that treated him so poorly if he was in control? Besides, did they have such little faith in their precious fourth Hokage? Really, these people were the epitome of stupid. It was rather infuriating to watch. And since Kurama couldn't really do anything, there wasn't much of a point in watching anyway. So Kurama had nothing to do. He was bored. The child was asleep. He couldn't peer into the outside world even if he wanted to. So, Kurama did the only thing he really could to stave off the boredom. He ranted, "These caretakers are pathetic liars. If there's always seconds for literally every child except for one, then why would they not rotate which child goes hungry, or even better, replan the meals? Spread them more evenly. Are they truly this bad at math? Do they think this kid is an idiot? Do they think the Hokage will never notice? And really, they do such a bad job of keeping an eye on him. Slipping into the pantry to check their food stores and grab extra snacks would be trivially easy, even for a young, stupid child. Truly, this orphanage must collectively share the brain of a toddler." Thus he spent the night ranting about various injustices and stupid decisions, and went to sleep when he got bored of that too. Kurama awoke in the afternoon to a feeling of nervousness and exhilaration from the child. Curious, he peeked out into the world. The kid was sneaking into the pantry. He was terrible at being sneaky, but he was getting away with it. As Kurama predicted. And so the child went to bed feeling happy and full, already plotting out tomorrow's pantry heist. The next week, the kid was finally caught. Of course he got a very long lecture and was punished much more severely than he should have been. Thus, the next subject of Kurama's late-night rant was determined. They told him to stay in his room for the next month? Really? Why in the world should he do that? They do such a pitiful job of actually checking on him that escaping would be pathetically easy. Really, all he needs to do is be there whenever they deign to feed him, and he could get away with even more mischief than usual. It would actually be easier to sneak out of the orphanage than usual. If they expect him to be in his room, they won't be dragging him off to a corner during playtime or putting him in the back of the line during mealtime. No one would be watching him, so it would be far easier to sneak out than it would any other time. He could easily sneak out of the orphanage and find a playground or the market to get food and playtime from, and that way they couldn't keep him in a corner where he couldn't run or play. Really, this is the best possible punishment they could have given. Bright and early in the morning, Naruto snuck out of the orphanage and into the nearby woods. He proceeded to spend the entire day playing outside, and only came back just before dinner time because he was hungry. The orphanage workers didn't check on him or feed him that night, likely as part of his punishment, so he went to bed hungry. Still, he had the time of his life that day and planned on doing it tomorrow. Once is a coincidence, twice might be a pattern. Kurama contemplated this child's knack for doing exactly what Kurama suggested in his rants and decided to experiment. Does he expect them to feed him? If they don't bother to check on him, they most likely plan on starving him as much as they can get away with. He should figure out how to feed himself between whatever meals they plan to give him. Raiding the pantry will certainly be a good source of food, but they will notice if he takes too much too often. If he can get into the forest often enough, he can find plenty of food there. Most berries around these parts are quite safe to eat, and the poisonous ones are usually only mildly so. He just needs to learn what is safe to eat. So long as he stays away from white and yellow berries, and berries that have bitter smells or milky sap, he has a good chance of not eating anything too poisonous. He can also check stems. Thorny stems and berries that grow in close clusters tend to be poisonous. And if he can get a few kunai and get good at throwing them, he might be able to hunt for meat and fish. The next afternoon Naruto was scrutinizing a wide range of berries. He ate one or two that made him a little sick, but he soon found quite a few that were safe and tasted fairly good. That night, he went to bed without major hunger pangs. Kurama grinned. Naruto hummed to himself, eyeing the innocent-looking door in front of him. You may ask why he is staring at a door, but this is not just any door. This is the door to the janitor's closet. And Naruto had realized, or dreamed, last night, of the possibilities connected to a janitor's closet. He thought back to his dream. These orphanage workers really are idiots. You'd think that they'd have child safety locks on the rooms for cleaning supplies, but no, they think that children wouldn't try to drink the bleach the moment they get the chance. Actually, don't drink bleach. Seriously. It doesn't taste good, although there is certainly potential here. After all, they use those cleaning supplies wherever there's a mess. Imagine if you replaced the bleach with something else? I bet they'd love a mop bucket full of something that stains. Naruto didn't know why he only had these great ideas when he went to bed, but far be it from him to waste a perfectly good payback plan. Thus, little Naruto was scheming to somehow replace as much bleach as he could with syrup. Sneaking in and messing with the bleach bottles was ridiculously easy, but he needed syrup first. He already checked the pantry and there wasn't enough. Sure, he could use something like ketchup, but syrup is so much stickier. Imagine all the other orphans getting syrup all over them, and the workers having to catch and clean all of them. So, syrup. Come to think of it, there was that one place that sold a bunch of pancakes in the market, right? They probably have tons of the stuff. Happy with his plan of action, Naruto skipped off to go get himself grounded so it'd be easier to sneak out later. Kurama cackled like a maniac. Oh, this kid was going places. Now he needed to see the workers' faces when they realized just how awful cleanup was going to be. Still, the kid's plan could use work. He could definitely get a ton of syrup from a breakfast restaurant, but sneaking in there would be a lot more difficult than getting into the pantry. Plus, how was he going to bring the syrup back? Kurama hummed and thought, time to get to work. Naruto bounced excitedly as he carefully snuck out with a bunch of empty bottles. He had tried to sneak into the pancake place earlier, but he got caught. That was okay though, because he hadn't actually taken anything, so he just got yelled at and sent back to the orphanage. He was grounded for a few more weeks, but that just made it easier to sneak out, so Naruto didn't mind. Plus, he got to take a nap and woke up with a ton of new ideas. He found a bunch of spots on the way to hide the bottles. After all, syrup was going to be really heavy, so he should have spots to stash it so he can take trips. And he should do it at night, because it's a lot harder to see people at night and there won't be anyone in the building. And he should try to check all the windows after the doors, because someone might forget to lock them. And if everything was locked, then Naruto wasn't really sure what to do because his dream didn't tell him how to pick locks. Getting a lot of syrup is hard. Luckily, the back door was unlocked. Naruto didn't want to take all of the pancake place's syrup, they'll probably need some in the morning. But he managed to fill a bunch of bottles and drag them outside. His dream was right, syrup is heavy. But he napped earlier and he didn't have to be back at the orphanage until dinner time tomorrow, so he was sure he could make it. Plus, bleach bottles weren't the only ones he brought. 2 days later, some poor soul had to reclean the windows because of an issue with the window cleaner. Kurama. That means that we're inside Naruto's seal with Kurama right now. If you see Naruto, then we're following Naruto. This way we can start following other characters too and just make things flow better. Please let me know if this works or if it's annoying and I should go back to how I did it before. Naruto. Sneaking around is way easier now. Naruto's gotten really good at being quiet. And no one notices when he sneaks away cause he's grounded so often. Who knew being grounded is actually the best thing ever? Besides, everyone else is terrible at being sneaky. Naruto can always tell when they're around and where they are. Especially the matron and the workers. They always seem angry at him. But he can always tell where they are and he's really good at guessing when they're in a bad mood. Kurama. Well, this is unexpected. Kurama didn't expect Naruto to start sensing emotions for at least a few more years. Perhaps their chakras were just more compatible than he thought. Then Naruto would adjust to Kurama's chakra far quicker than he predicted before. Or maybe it's because they were in limited contact? Well, Kurama could think about that later. For now, this may be unexpected, but it certainly isn't unwelcome. So, you can sense exactly where people are and how they're feeling. Already you're using it very well. It will be far easier to get into places that others might try to keep you out of. Maybe you could give the matron's office a makeover? Oh, I have an even better idea. Kakashi. Kakashi is a good ninja. He was a child prodigy, a genius Anbu captain, and one of the students of the legendary 4th Hokage. Certainly, Kakashi had his issues, but he was very good at shoving them in their own little neat corner of his mind so they wouldn't interfere with his job. Okay, neat and corner might be pushing it. He did guard his dead sensei's son as much as he could instead of taking more pressing missions or even just initiating contact with the kid, but he wouldn't let that stand in the way of doing a good job. He can protect a child. And he can do it completely undetected, so long as he needs to. Kakashi is a good ninja. He can stay hidden and Naruto turns to stare straight at him and grins. Kakashi whimpered. Naruto was bored. Usually, that would terrify the orphanage workers, but right now he seemed to be doing something rather harmless. Still, no one could fathom why the resident troublemaker was spending the day staring at signs. Naruto paid them no mind. He just found a sign, stared for a few minutes, found another sign, stared for a few minutes, maybe looked at a kid book to spice it up, and found another sign. What in the world was he doing? Kurama. Oh, no, 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 no. Didn't this kid think Kurama was a dream? What did he think a dream could do here? Did he think that staring at signs all day would magically teach him to read? Of course, reading is a useful skill. In fact, it is invaluable in human society. Naruto would certainly have to learn it at some point. Well, he'll never learn if Kurama lets him take the easy way out. Let the brat figure it out on his own. Attend class or learn from the orphanage workers, like a reasonable child. Naruto. Naruto didn't know what he was doing wrong. Usually his dreams were so helpful. They taught him a whole bunch of stuff about berries. Why couldn't they teach him to read? He just didn't want to have to sit and learn it when he could be making chaos in the police headquarters for yelling at him a few days ago when he painted it bright neon pink. Maybe his dreams were just being stubborn. Naruto would have to take it up a notch. Kurama. This kid is seriously visiting a library? What did he want from Kurama? To somehow magically pump the knowledge into his brain? Why couldn't they just dump a mob of squirrels into the marketplace or something? Naruto. Okay, that squirrel's idea was great, but it wasn't what Naruto wanted. He'd already spent 2 days on this. He was going to get his dreams to teach him to read. His dreams wanted to be stubborn? Ha, Naruto was the king of stubborn. The poor orphanage workers were just happy for the break. Kurama. This kid is an idiot. He thinks he's the master of stubbornness? Kurama is immortal. He spent centuries napping before. He can just go to sleep and the brat can say goodbye to his help. And really, the way they use chakra is just sad. Sticking to things? Really? You can use chakra to spit fire from your mouth, and yet the only common chakra control exercises you can think of are to stick to things? Sure, it's got great utility, but it's so limited. Try paying attention to a kid's chakra when you teach them. You could use light nature training as chakra control training, like the red-eyed brats do. Take a wind nature like this kid, and teach him to infuse chakra into his breath. Now he can make his breath much quieter, control his chakra output, and sense things in the air that others couldn't. It would even increase chakra reserves, because you're draining your chakra a little with every breath. Or use sensing as a chakra exercise. Have a kid reach out with his chakra to brush another's chakra, and try to do it undetected. Now the kids are learning how to use chakra to sense and read targets, and do so undetected. Honestly, the lack of imagination is ridiculous. Kurama was starting a little early with Naruto's chakra education. Oh yes, some shinobi could do quite impressive things with their chakra, but most shinobi seemed to have such a limited mindset. Besides, Kurama had his doubts that the academy teachers would treat Naruto fairly. Start early and start right. Plus, not like Naruto could get a better teacher in the ways of chakra than a literal millennia-old chakra construct. Naruto. Naruto was scaring the workers again. He was just sitting there, doing nothing. Staring at signs again would have been better. No one could tell what he was plotting or when he was going to run off to set up whatever he was plotting, but everyone was terrified. Naruto, however, was just paying attention to his breath. His dream last night had told him that ninja were cool, but if he could use chakra better than them, then he would be even cooler. And he just needed to get really good at breathing. Naruto focused and reached for that big ball of energy in him. He breathed, and nothing happened. Naruto was bored. He kept at it anyway. Kurama supposed he shouldn't be surprised that it would take a little time. He couldn't exactly instruct Naruto while he was training, and Kurama didn't really have any experience as a teacher anyway. Perhaps a different approach? Kurama wasn't exactly sure how humans taught each other to find their chakra. He was literally made of chakra, finding and using it came as naturally to him as simply existing. But chakra is energy, so it made sense that following the energy's path through the body would help Naruto grasp his chakra. Next time you eat, pay attention to how you feel. Where does the food go when you swallow it? Where does it go after that? Does it stay in one place, or does it spread out? Does it stay in you, or do you breathe it out? Follow it, then stop and try to find it again. Once you're comfortable finding it, try following your breath next. Naruto figured that his dream's plan should probably wait until after he ate, so he could actually pay attention to where his food was. That was perfectly fine with him, since he was pretty bored from spending most of yesterday trying to breathe right. He wanted to try out that squirrel idea. As it turns out, catching a ton of squirrels is hard. Naruto didn't really have anywhere to keep them, either. He ended up settling for putting ketchup on everything in the Akamichi storehouse that really shouldn't go with ketchup and calling it a day. Luckily, it was a lot easier to follow the energy than it was to do fancy breathing. Naruto had it down in just a few days. Following his breath was a little harder, but he got that down too. His dreams were right again. This chakra stuff is a lot easier to do once you know how to find it. He even started doing that sensing thing his dream mentioned. He couldn't even get close to the animal mask guys, but it was fun to watch them jump every time he tried. Kurama has mixed feelings. He was quite pleased at first. The Hokage finally noticed how Naruto was treated, and of course punished the orphanage workers. The matron was no longer the matron, a fair amount of the staff was replaced, and Naruto got a private tutor for a few months to teach him the basics of reading, writing, and math. These were all very good things. Until they were. Well, Kurama has mixed feelings. You see, once Naruto's tutor was confident that he could read well enough, which was very quick. Naruto might not have been very interested, but Kurama certainly was, and he learned fast. The Hokage got Naruto his own apartment. Certainly, these were mostly good things. It was appalling that a child was forced to live on his own simply because of the orphanage's bias and incompetence, but that was fine. Naruto had Kurama to make sure he didn't do anything too stupid, like drink bleach. And now that there were no orphanage workers breathing down Naruto's neck, there was no reason to sneak around or get grounded constantly just to get outside. Actually, this apartment could be a great place to keep supplies and personal belongings. Plus, it's a safe place to sleep and eat without worrying about hiding the extra food. They could even start collecting things like scrolls and books, and actually be able to use them because of the tutor. No, it wasn't the apartment that gave Kurama mixed feelings. It was the other bit. Naruto was a literal child, and as a child, he couldn't really be expected to budget his money. And the Hokage didn't seem to bother to give him any help on that front, so it was up to the two of them. In other words, it was mostly up to Kurama. And Kurama was not happy. Because with the apartment came the monthly allowance. And with the monthly allowance came taxes. Kurama was not amused. He had literally just started to learn the humans' math and writing systems, and the Hokage was already dumping taxes on him. Clearly, vengeance must be exacted upon the stupid old man. Which brings Kurama to his rant for the night. Have you ever seen a ninja sleep? No, of course not. They rest when they're off the job, which means that they need to be able to stay awake for extended periods of time. In other words, ninja can stay awake way longer than other people because it's necessary for the job. But of course, that doesn't mean they have infinite energy. No, they have to have something to fuel their insomnia. Ninja use soldier pills and similar things to keep their energy full. Unfortunately, you have none of their tools to train with. Quote, time to land the killing blow. So you'll have to use a substitute. Both sugar and coffee will work quite nicely. Naruto wasn't sure what the big deal with coffee was. Sure, it smells good, and lots of adults seem to practically live off the stuff, but he was already bouncing with energy all the time. He didn't really need extra. But his dreams have never steered him wrong, so Naruto set out into the market to find himself some coffee. Luckily for him, there was a traveling caravan in town, so they wouldn't chase him away. Maybe they'd have some for their early morning customers. The poor police force was barely standing by noon. The Hokage was already planning to ban coffee for all minors. Surely he wouldn't still be Hokage by the time Naruto hit 18, but he was swamped with paperwork until next week. It seems Naruto somehow managed to finally pull off his plan to unleash a mob of squirrels in the marketplace. He proceeded to play hide and seek with half the Anbu in the village for a solid hour before slipping away to somehow write on the face of every single napping Nara in the village, and finally passing out from the caffeine sugar crash in a random academy classroom. Ignoring the obvious foreshadowing to a possibly rocky school career, the marketplace was in shambles. The Anbu were completely run ragged. The Nara kept sleeping, the poor caravan merchant who gave the menace coffee was traumatized for life, and the Hokage felt a solid 5 years come off his lifespan. And Naruto heard Kurama laughing maniacally the whole night. Naruto was, once again, sneaking into the library. He didn't come here often, reading was so boring, but this time he was on a mission. Naruto wanted a jutsu. Naruto was pretty good at being sneaky, but it'd be really hard to get into the higher level jutsus. Besides, his dream last night told him that all the best ninja know the academy jutsu, and that borrowing a jutsu scroll from that level would be almost as easy as sneaking into the orphanage pantry. Plus, his dream said it was like the chakra thing. If you learn the easy stuff first, the hard stuff gets less hard. So Naruto snuck into the library and grabbed the first academy jutsu he could get his hands on. He eagerly tore off into the woods to take a look, but the words flew completely over his head. He was only 5, after all, and barely knew how to read. Oh well. He could just go to bed and see what his dreams had to say. Kurama. Pathetic. I know I said it'd be good to start with the basics, but that jutsu is absolutely pathetic. Do human children really have that little chakra? Especially the clan ones, they get started learning their signature jutsu before they're 10 years old. Surely they would be learning these around the same time. I've seen children who can cast jutsu that are easily 10 times as costly and 50 times more refined. This is the kind of thing I'd expect for them to teach in the first year, not graduation level. No wonder this village is so easy to mess up, it's barely putting in the effort to train its ninja. The only purpose I can think of to teach this jutsu to children is to get them to improve it. A literal child could easily make this better with a bare minimum of training. Never mind the fact that Kurama's only experience with children outside of battle is Naruto, and he is far from average. Naruto. Wow. Naruto's dream was mad. That's pretty common, actually. Naruto wasn't really that bothered. But he was interested in last night's rant. If his dreams thought that a child could improve this jutsu, then that meant Naruto could do it. Even if he couldn't read the scroll very well, his dream had ranted plenty. Naruto was sure he could figure it out. Naruto promptly lost his Anbu guard and ran off into the woods to practice. Kurama. Kurama really should have expected Naruto to do that. He was actually rather proud that his kid would take the initiative and start working on improving the transformation technique. It would certainly be an advantage in the future. The transformation jutsu was such a basic and common jutsu that shinobi rarely thought to try to improve it. Plus, it could improve the kid's critical thinking skills. If he could find a talent for jutsu creation, he would be an absolute menace in the shinobi world in just a few years. Kurama grinned and spent the night ranting chakra theory. And just a week later, the Anbu were lamenting their ability to keep track of a little boy, all while he laughed and watched from the transformed body of a baby fox. Of course, Kurama was less than thrilled a few days later when Naruto decided to give his dreams a name, and decided that because he always got a distinct feeling of a furry animal when he dreamt, Fuzzy was a great choice. Naruto was frustrated. All the cool shinobi knew how to fight with weapons and stuff, but Fuzzy wasn't helpful at all. It was like he didn't have a clue how to use a sword or even your fists. What good was Fuzzy if he just kept telling Naruto to try stuff until he found something that felt right? So Naruto was venting his frustration by being a menace. Specifically, to the Uchiha. He was currently sneakily escaping after replacing all of their police headquarters soap with purple food coloring. Naruto snuck a different way than usual. Fuzzy told him that if he always did the same stuff, the police could find him easier. He cut through the training grounds around the Uchiha compound, because no one would expect him to do that. Of course, Naruto forgot to think about the fact that there just might be someone using the training grounds. Lucky for him, it was just a kid. Easy to sneak around. So Naruto was skirting around the edges of the training ground, when he noticed that the other kid was practicing with shuriken. Sasuke. Sasuke didn't really know what happened. 1 second, he was practicing the shuriken technique his brother showed him. The next, a blonde psychopath was practically tackling him to the ground, begging to train together. As if Sasuke didn't want to be anywhere near this crazy kid. But he couldn't for the life of him get the nutcase to leave him alone. He was like a bouncing blonde leech. If this kid was so desperate to learn shuriken techniques, he should bug someone else. It's not like he could give Sasuke anything in return anyway. And I've got all these cool techniques to practice my chakra and this transformation jutsu that's way better than the academy one. But Fuzzy just won't teach me weapons and stuff like that. Maybe Sasuke would hear this kid out. Naruto. Naruto was ecstatic. The other kid agreed to teach him how to throw shuriken. He even offered to show Naruto his kunai, too. He just wanted to hear about Fuzzy. Naruto was more than happy to talk all about his really cool dreams. The other kid seemed pretty skeptical, but was somehow fine with Naruto's weird instructor. Is Naruto instructing himself through dreams? As long as he could get something out of it. Thus, a glorious friendship was born. Kurama gave up. He'd spent weeks ranting on and off about poor name choices. It's Kurama, you little brat, but the stupid nickname was sticking. His effort was better spent elsewhere. And there was certainly much to be considered. Kurama wasn't particularly fond of Uchihas in general, but the same logic applied to the Uchiha brat as did to Naruto. The kid hasn't personally done anything to Kurama, so there's no point in hating him. Plus, he could teach Naruto things that Kurama could not. The Uchiha kid was staying. With that in mind, Kurama should try to bring more positive influences into Naruto's life. This brings him to the subject of tonight's rant. All of the coolest ninjas have summons. Think about it. The 3rd Hokage does, the 4th Hokage did, all 3 Sannin have them. Most powerful ninja have a contract with summons. Of course, you have to be suited for the summons for them to accept you. Lucky for you, if you do a reverse summon jutsu without having signed a contract, you will simply appear in the land of the summoning clan that best suits you. Even better, it's a very easy jutsu to perform. Quote, Naruto. Naruto wasn't sure where he was, but he figured that didn't matter right now. There were foxes everywhere, and, like all fuzzy things, these foxes must be pet. Naruto immediately dedicated the day to petting every fox he could get his hands on. Eventually the foxes managed to herd him to the fox elder, who took one look at him and burst out laughing. They practically dumped their contract on him, no questions asked. Of course, they wouldn't tell Naruto why exactly they accepted him so quickly other than, it's funnier this way, but he didn't mind as long as he got some cool summons. And he got the coolest summons ever. They were more than happy to help him with whatever prank he could think of, and even had awesome ideas for even better pranks. Plus, they loved to get him more coffee and sugar. They even helped him make cookies. Kurama nodded to himself. With the satisfaction of a job well done in a village in sufficient mortal peril, he went to take a nap. The academy is weird. On the first day, the teacher walked in, took one look at his class, and walked right back out. Is that normal? Whatever. Naruto's only a week in and he's already bored out of his mind. Fuzzy's rants are way more interesting than this stuff. They're not even talking about anything cool, just a bunch of reading and math classes. Clearly, this isn't worth Naruto's time. He uses the academy as nap time. Kurama. Clearly, this isn't worth Naruto's time. The math and reading are useful enough, but a lot of their ancient history classes are ridiculously inaccurate. Even worse, whenever they get into chakra theory it's way too surface level and closed-minded. It's no wonder those pathetic 3 jutsu are on the graduation test. It'd be a miracle if they even make it there at this rate. See, even Naruto sees how useless these classes are. He's sleeping through all of them. Although, you should be paying attention to the reading classes. I'd also rather have you learn math so I don't have to budget for you. It's probably better anyway if you actually learn how to do math so you don't have to wait until the next day to have the answers. And I can tell you the more accurate ancient history, and you will almost certainly be expected to remember these lectures. Quote, Kurama was just maybe still a bit miffed at his nickname. I suppose I'll just have to recite the lectures to you tonight. You seem to remember my rants far better than whatever you learn out there anyway. Naruto. Naruto didn't know what he did to deserve this torture, but he's very sorry. Please bring back the cool jutsus and pranking advice. Sasuke's just impressed that Naruto's somehow learning something, and the teachers don't know how in the world Naruto's doing well if he's constantly sleeping through class. The fox summons laughed at his misfortune and bombard him with even more boring lectures just because it's funny. Kurama's lightened up a bit on Naruto's punishment. It's been a few weeks and already the boy is turning into an actual insomniac, except during class, of course. So Kurama figured he can just summarize the lectures and get back to the actually interesting stuff. Most of the academy stuff isn't all that useful anyway. Plus, Kurama can't hold back Naruto for long. Kurama will only accept the best. Imagine how mortifying it would be to have a pathetic Jinchuriki. So Kurama's been teaching Naruto more chakra theory and control. He got wall and water walking out of the way, because they're incredibly useful and great for causing chaos. They've already managed to convince at least 3 people that their shops are haunted. And a few more things like how to work well with his fox summons. It helps that the foxes absolutely love Naruto because of his pranking antics. Still, it was probably time to focus on something else. Naruto. Naruto was showing off his really cool transformation jutsu to Sasuke. Sasuke was very interested in learning it, but Naruto wasn't a very good teacher. They spent an hour or two trying to figure it out, but eventually they took a break to work on other things. Naruto was still trying to get better with his kunai, after all. Of course, Naruto lost all interest in his kunai when he noticed Sasuke spitting fireballs. He proceeded to spend the rest of the day hounding Sasuke to teach him how to make a fireball. Sasuke finally got him to quit by shoving him in a dumpster and running away. Kurama. Kurama supposed nature manipulation was as good as anything. The academy won't teach him that anyway. Fire's certainly a good element. It is my primary affinity, after all. But we both have a rather strong wind affinity, so that's where you should start. If you remember the breathing exercise, you've already got a decent grasp on the basics. You'll notice that the Uchiha spend quite a bit of time with incense and candles. That's not a coincidence. If you want to become proficient with an element, you should spend time with that element. Find a high-up place and just feel the wind. Focus on your breath and how it fades into the wind. Try to fill your breath with your chakra, then try to fill the wind with your chakra through your breath. Pay attention to how the wind moves and how your chakra moves with it. Sasuke. Sasuke didn't know that Naruto was capable of sitting still for this long. Is this a sign to run and hide or something? Sasuke bit the bullet and asked Naruto what he was doing. Apparently it was a nature manipulation exercise? It did kind of make sense. If Naruto was a wind type, then paying attention to air currents and trying to fill them with his chakra might be a good starting point. Sasuke wasn't really an expert on wind chakra though. He supposed he'd just try to make sense of that transformation technique Naruto was talking about yesterday and see if Naruto could give him some pointers here and there. Iruka isn't an idiot. There's no way that kid is a demon. If he was, he would have razed the village to the ground by now. And if he's just possessed but can't use the demon's power, then he would have just run away or tried to break his seal. It's honestly baffling that so few people can make this connection. So, clearly this is just a normal kid. That makes the teacher's attitude absolutely shameful. So he's smart. That doesn't make him evil. That certainly doesn't justify scamming him out of test scores that he earned. And so what if he's a prankster? So was Iruka. Of course, it was a pain to deal with the cleanup, but Iruka can certainly appreciate the artistry of a prank well done. Naruto must be lonely. He needs more affection in his life. And as the only sane person in the whole village when it comes to this kid, Iruka will try his best to make sure that Naruto has at least some affection to fill the void. Hey Naruto, I'd like to talk to you about your last test. What do you say to some ramen while we talk? Naruto. Iruka-sensei is officially Naruto's favorite person ever. Naruto didn't know how he had never experienced this blissful heaven before, but he was never going to forget it. He'd gladly spend his whole monthly allowance here. Iruka, on the other hand, was watching with morbid fascination as he watched Naruto practically inhaled his 12th bowl. He was already regretting his life choices. Kurama. This was actually disturbing. Kurama was convinced that the water in his sewer was literally turning into ramen broth. Oh, well, might as well take advantage of this. You know, protein is essential for a growing boy. Eating a lot of it will help you grow up to be a really strong ninja. Perhaps if you love ramen so much, you should have chicken ramen to get more protein. If Kurama was going to have to deal with all the ramen, maybe he'd get lucky and the kid would get some good meat too. Kurama woke up from a week-long nap to find Naruto very excited. Normally neither of them bother with human traditions, Naruto's way too isolated and Kurama just flat out doesn't care. But this Halloween is clearly the greatest idea humanity has ever had. A day dedicated to lighthearted scares and ridiculous costumes? Naruto was born for this. And Kurama is more than happy to help him realize his full potential here. Konoha won't know what hit them. Sasuke. Sasuke was absolutely terrified. Naruto's been completely distracted and disappears way too frequently for everyone's mental health. He's been staying awake in class, but clearly hasn't been paying attention to the lectures because he got a bad grade on the last test. And he just has this evil smirk, like he's about to unleash the apocalypse for the last week. A few days in, Sasuke has just given in and resigned himself to his, probably painful, fate. So when Naruto sneaks up on him and drags him into a back alley, Sasuke doesn't bother resisting. He also doesn't bother resisting when Naruto enlists him to help his fox summons. When did he get those? Sasuke has given up questioning, set up the village's doom. Iruka walks into his class on Halloween, and immediately dismisses them and walks back out. He saw Naruto's face, and wants nothing more than to just run and hide on the other side of the continent. Maybe if he bribes Naruto with ramen, he'll be spared from the chaos. Kakashi. If there's one thing that Kakashi's learned in the last few years, it's that no ninja can keep up with Uzumaki Naruto. The moment Naruto shows up in the marketplace in a fox costume, of all things, an explosion of white silly string that vaguely resembles spiderwebs covers the entire main street. Here's where most ninja try to chase Naruto down, but all of the Anbu know better. Naruto proceeds to lead them through a gauntlet of countless Halloween-themed pranks, including, but not limited to, a few shops somehow converted into funhouses, a veritable horde of bats. How in the world did he get them to all attack together like that? And Sasuke, who looked like he wanted to be anywhere but here, dumping fish oil all over everything he could. Then leading way too many black cats over to attack everything. Kakashi did the smart thing and holed up in the emergency evacuation shelters. Iruka appeared to have already staked them out. The girls behind Naruto keep talking about this visiting caravan. Apparently they've got a really good singer. Naruto's never really cared about music, and usually he stays away from girls. He's seen enough of Sasuke's fan club to be absolutely terrified of girls. But from what they're saying, being a good singer is a really good way to get a ton of attention. And Naruto loves attention. Naruto went straight home that day to practice his singing. Kurama. Never sing again. You sound like a dying cat getting run over by a truck. No, I don't know what that is either. Actually, that doesn't even begin to describe it. Throw the cat off a cliff into a swimming pool, then shove it in a washing machine. That's only half as bad as you sound. If you keep going, I swear I'm going to kill everyone and then myself, just to save the world from this torture. Naruto. Okay, maybe Naruto wasn't a singer. Still, he was nothing if not opportunistic. Iruka. There was supposed to be a test today, but as soon as Iruka started to hand them out, Naruto made a sound like a dying walrus. Iruka was, rightly, concerned, only for Naruto to assure him that he was only humming to himself. Iruka was skeptical. There's absolutely no way that a singing voice that horrendous is even possible. Halfway through the test, Naruto started doing his best impersonation of a piano being thrown around by a tornado. Iruka ran away. The students couldn't agree if Naruto was their new hero or if they should superglue his mouth shut. Naruto. Oh, Naruto knew how to use this. He spent the rest of the week promoting some of the meaner shop owners by standing outside of them and singing for the crowds. And when they tried to chase him away, he just climbed to the roof and belted out his song for the whole market to hear. Business in Konoha took a huge hit that week. The poor Hokage had to ask Naruto to stop, because foreign business and traveling merchants didn't want to come for fear of hearing Naruto singing. Kurama wasn't sure whether to be impressed or horrified. Hiruzen is checking up on Naruto. Being in his own apartment rather than the orphanage is better, but not by much. There's a reason most children don't live on their own. Thankfully, Naruto seems to be doing rather well. Hiruzen wasn't even requiring taxes from Naruto, and he was still doing them, rather well, too. Still, Hiruzen worries about Naruto. So he is visiting the child today, just to make sure that he's doing alright. Naruto seems to be very eager to make conversation. That's good. He may be isolated, but he still tries to reach out. He's even apparently made friends with Sasuke Uchiha. Hopefully they will be good for each other. And I'm learning all sorts of cool stuff. Not from the academy, they only talk about boring stuff that doesn't really help me at all there. But Fuzzy is an awesome teacher. He tells me all sorts of awesome things while I dream. Hiruzen promptly chokes on his tea. Naruto. Naruto doesn't know why Gigi started choking, but he likes Gigi so he tries to help. How do you help a choking person? Didn't Iruka-sensei mention that a while ago? Something about pressure and fists and stomachs? Oh, Naruto can punch Gigi's stomach. Naruto doesn't know why Gigi passed out, but he doesn't want to leave Gigi on the floor. Naruto dutifully clears the couch and puts Gigi there. That's probably more comfortable for him. A few minutes later, Gigi wakes up. Naruto isn't sure why his face seems grayer than usual, but he seems okay. Should Naruto be doing something? Oh, Gigi might be hungry. Naruto can go make cup ramen for him. Before Naruto can get far, Gigi stops him. It's a little weird that Gigi wants to see Naruto's stomach, but it's probably fine. Gigi's nice, so Naruto isn't worried. Gigi calms down after looking at Naruto's stomach. Does he just like bellies a lot or something? That's really weird. Naruto, please don't listen to those dreams. I don't know exactly what Fuzzy tells you, but it's very important that you don't listen to him. He will only hurt you if you keep listening to him. Please tell me if these dreams keep appearing consistently, or if he tells you anything worrying. Alright? Naruto agrees, mostly to get Gigi off his back. Fuzzy is a dream, and he's Naruto's dream, and he's absolutely never been petty or spiteful or anything. He teaches Naruto cool stuff. And he talks to Naruto way more often than Gigi does. Besides, how should Naruto stop listening to him? Stop sleeping? He's tried that before, not fun. And Naruto, did you say that Fuzzy complains about taxes? Why would he do that? I don't make you pay taxes. At least, I made sure you won't be required to pay taxes until you reach adulthood or graduate and become a ninja. If someone told you otherwise, I can go speak with the taxation department to make sure they know not to make you pay. Kurama. That old man is going to die. Kurama is going to feast on his guts and raise everything he loves to the ground. What was all that math for? No, Kurama has to make sure Naruto doesn't take the old man's advice first. Giving him something interesting to think about should distract him from whatever suspicions that old fart might have planted in his mind. Actually, why not kill two birds with one stone? Hey kid, you've been keeping up with your history classes, right? Remember that review we did on the Third Ninja War last week? That picture of the Lord Fourth Hokage certainly looked familiar. Quote, the next day, Naruto snuck into some old records that really needed better security, shrieked in pure joy, got caught, escaped, and no one could bring him down for the next week. Poor Hiruzen practically got a heart attack on the spot. His only saving grace was that Kurama encouraged Naruto to keep it as his cool special secret, because he didn't feel like dealing with all the drama. And if Kurama also encouraged Naruto to give Hiruzen the cold shoulder for not telling him the best secret ever, it was totally justified. Naruto. If there's one thing that annoys Naruto the most, it's bullies. Well, that and when teachers pick a really boring lecture, but mostly bullies. So when he sees a group of bullies ganging up on a little lavender-haired girl, he busts in no questions asked. Of course, the bullies think they're hot stuff. But Fuzzy says all the coolest ninja are the ones who can make everyone else think they're pathetic and then show them just how cool they are. But, like, secretly. Okay. Naruto doesn't really get what Fuzzy was saying there, but the point still stands. Naruto's cool, like a cool ninja, and being outnumbered by bigger bullies isn't a problem. Of course, he still isn't that great at taijutsu, so he'll just do the next best thing and make himself bigger. By using his awesome transformation jutsu to turn into a really big fox. For some reason everyone panics when he turns into a fox or brings out his summons, so he's sure it'll work. And it's awesome to watch the bullies trip over themselves to run away crying, only for Fox summons to herd them into a corner and drop a bunch of glue on them. That'll teach them to gang up on smaller, cooler people. Naruto is congratulating himself on a job well done, when he notices the girl is still crying. Oh no, did he scare her too? Dang it Naruto, you were so close to a perfect rescue. You're not supposed to make her cry. Quick, fix it. So Naruto practically falls over himself to try to cheer her up. Thankfully, he's very good at making people laugh. He even summons a baby fox to shove in her arms for her to pet. Eventually he gets her to start talking to him. She mumbles and stutters a lot, but she seems to somehow have the idea that she's weak and pathetic and her family will never accept her. Now, Naruto is no expert on family, but he's pretty sure they're not supposed to make you feel like that. Actually, as an orphan who practically romanticizes the idea of family, he's more than a little offended that a family would do that to their kid. So he does the only logical thing he could do. Hinata. This boy is really loud, and Hinata's not sure what to think of him. Of course, she's grateful that he'd take the time to save someone as pathetic as her from those bullies, but he seems a little odd. He also has a lot of foxes. Hinata's never seen someone use a summon before, so she's interested in her own shy way. She's very happy that he's letting her snuggle with his baby fox. He has a way of making people open up. Just watching him goof around is enough to cheer Hinata up in a few minutes. She hopes he stays for a while. Eventually her family is brought into the conversation. Hinata wishes that she didn't have to talk about that. She's worried that Naruto will decide that her family is right and abandon her to be alone again. But surprisingly, he seems very upset at what she says about her family. Is it really that bad? Hinata has to go home after a while, and Naruto walks with her all the way there. It's sad that her family won't let him in, but also a little relieving. Hinata isn't sure if she wants Naruto in this kind of place. It's just as stifling as always. Still, Hinata finds a smile on her face the next day. Why? Naruto somehow replaced all of the Hyuga's shampoo, except hers, with bright red hair dye. All the elders look like tomatoes. Hinata decides that she wants to be friends with Naruto. Kurama. Finally, the kid is starting to think on his own. Kurama was thinking he'd have to spoon-feed a jutsu into Naruto, which is possibly not a good idea, considering Kurama's techniques just aren't meant for a human to use. Sure, Kurama could just make up something. He has more than enough expertise, but he doesn't know what reasonable human limits are, especially for children, so he figured it would be best to just teach Naruto the theory so that he could read jutsu scrolls or just make things up himself. Plus, it teaches him critical thinking, whatever helps him survive, and makes sure that Kurama's Jinchuriki isn't a pathetic idiot. Well, Kurama thinks Naruto might always be an idiot, but at least he won't be a weak idiot. Either way, Kurama is happy to help Naruto decipher the scroll for wind release. Great breakthrough. It's not the worst, all things considered. Very simple, but that means it's also very versatile. It could actually be rather strong, depending on the power and skill of the user. Plus, being simple means it's a great starting point for branching out. At the very least, Kurama is sure Naruto will have it down in a few days, and he can use it to improve his understanding of his wind-natured chakra. Certainly, this is a good thing. Sasuke. Naruto's been working like crazy for the last few days. Sasuke isn't sure where he got that jutsu scroll, but he knows better than to question things when Naruto's involved. Plus, if Naruto learns more, Fuzzy will tell him more advanced stuff, and then Naruto can teach Sasuke the advanced stuff. So Sasuke is perfectly fine with attempting to be helpful whenever Naruto asks. Sasuke may already know a fire-style jutsu, but knowing fire style can't really help him teach his friend anything about wind style. So Sasuke is more stuck being patient while Naruto figures it out, and throwing in his 2 cents every once in a while when Naruto gets frustrated. Still, Naruto gets it down reasonably well in less than a week. And of course, being Naruto, he got very excited with his new jutsu. Sasuke, spar with me. We're not supposed to spar until at least second year in the academy, idiot. What does that have to do with anything? I'm not supposed to be in the Chunin section of the library, but I got this cool jutsu from there anyway. Fine, but it's your fault if we get in trouble. And so, their first spar began. Although, spar is being a little generous. It was more just them hitting each other. Like a kid's wrestling match. Actually, that was exactly what it was. The only notable bit was when they decided to try to add jutsu into the mix. Apparently mixing wind and fire is a very bad idea. So that's how two 5-year-olds burned down a training ground. They had absolutely no clue what to do next, so they kind of just sat there, staring at the flames. And then Itachi showed up. Sasuke immediately panicked. He didn't want his Nissan to think he was irresponsible, and tried to think of something to say to make it better, but Itachi just looked around for a few seconds, glanced at them, and said, "I didn't see who did this, did you?" And thus, Naruto's second favorite Anbu target was chosen. Naruto poked the weird guy. "Hey, weird guy, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be doing that." The weird guy turned around, blinked a couple times, and practically tackled Naruto to cover his mouth. "Be quiet, brat. I'm watching the sacred place for my research, so get out of here." Naruto was very offended. "Well, excuse me, you crazy freak, but I'm just trying to be nice for once. Girls get really mad when you try to peep at them, you know." And the argument continued until the girls noticed them and gave the weirdo the beating of his lifetime. Naruto, of course, got away by virtue of being the best at escaping ever. Clearly this old dude must be a terrible ninja if he can't get away from a bunch of naked civilian women. Although some were kunoichi, to be fair. Kurama. Does that idiot have no common sense at all? Sure, I don't really see the point in clothes, but females are scary when they're mad. Honestly, if he's such a big pervert and he's so old, you'd think he'd have learned a few tricks at the very least. Clearly this man is either an idiot or too horny to think at all. Probably both. Obviously not a very good ninja, if he can't keep his head on straight when he sees a pretty girl. Even worse is that he couldn't escape the ladies. Sure, there were kunoichi in the crowd, but if my brat can escape, then a freaking probably war veteran ninja has to be able to get away. How in the world did Konoha win the last war with idiot perverts like that in their force? Naruto. Naruto was a little confused. Sure, he got the gist of what Fuzzy was saying. He even agreed. Seriously, judging by that guy's age, he must have been a war veteran. What kind of crazy powerful war veteran ninja can't escape from naked civilian women and peacetime kunoichi? Not that peacetime kunoichi are weak. It's just that war should have taught the guy some self-preservation instincts and escaping skills, right? Naruto nodded to himself. Yeah, this guy sucked. Naruto was gonna avoid him. Let him dig his own grave if he can't even be discreet when peeping, much less escape when he's caught. Still, what's a pervert? Kurama. Kurama supposed he shouldn't be surprised that Naruto didn't really get what was going on. He was what, 6? And humans are weird about these kinds of topics. Not like it's anything crazy or groundbreaking. If he can start Naruto's chakra education early, he can start Naruto's education early too. So, kid, here's what being a horny pervert means. Quote. And thus, Naruto was completely traumatized from a premature hearing of the talk at the tender age of 6 years old from an immortal chakra construct who really doesn't understand the significance or trauma associated with such a talk. The next time Jiraiya tried to approach Naruto, apparently Hiruzen had called Jiraiya back home to check on Naruto's seal. Naruto panicked, had a PTSD flashback, and went Kyuubi cloak mode for the first time on the idiot perv. Needless to say, no one had a good day. Although they did make a rather important discovery. Apparently Naruto and Kurama can talk freely when in Kyuubi cloak mode. Of course, it's not super helpful because regularly releasing that much Kyuubi chakra is probably detrimental to both Naruto's physical health and the village's sanity. Naruto is exhausted. That's pretty rare, but he thinks he's justified. After he used a ton of cool red chakra. Who knew Fuzzy was so awesome? To get away from the crazy perv. Gigi and pervy guy. Who called himself a holy sage or something stupid like that, so now he's pervy sage. Tried to negotiate to get Naruto to let the pervert look at his belly. No way in hell is that ever happening. So Naruto spent the day running and sticking it to the perv. But there's one thing that they offered that reminded Naruto of something important. They offered to have pervy sage teach Naruto. They said he'd be better than Fuzzy at all kinds of things, like fuinjutsu and taijutsu. Which was kind of true, because Fuzzy didn't know anything about taijutsu and never bothered to learn fuinjutsu. Seals are meant to manipulate chakra, and I am literally made of chakra. I'm not an idiot, you brat. So Naruto was kind of stuck there. He wanted to be good at fuinjutsu like his dad. Besides, fuinjutsu is cool. So that was going to happen someday. He'd figure it out later. Maybe work on his handwriting now because Fuzzy said that'd be important to learning Fuinjutsu. But taijutsu was a little more pressing, because it's really important to get a good foundation when you're young. Of course, Naruto has no teacher for taijutsu other than Sasuke, who's also a kid and is still learning. The academy is out because they don't start teaching taijutsu until the second year, and it's only the most basic stuff out there. There's absolutely no way that Naruto is going anywhere near the pervert. Fuzzy promised to let him borrow the cool red chakra if the pervert tried to get close, and Gigi somehow seemed even more terrified when Naruto told him that. So he had to figure something else out. Kurama. Finding a teacher is going to be difficult. Most ninja are crazy, and if their chakra philosophies are anything to go by, way too closed-minded. Still, maybe it's like me. I'm made of chakra, so using it is as natural to me as breathing. You are made of your body, so using it would come far more naturally to you than it would to me. An actual ninja would be the best teacher. But we've already decided that would be difficult. This was gonna be hard. I suppose the best thing we can do is watch people in action. You're already good enough at escaping, but you haven't really practiced staying undetected for extended periods of time. Try to find some shinobi to watch practicing taijutsu. We can use scrolls in the library to supplement what we learn there. This way we can improve your spying and maybe sensing skills, even if we don't end up making much progress with taijutsu. Naruto. It made sense to Naruto, so he was off to try stalking some ninja. He doesn't care what Fuzzy says, he always encourages Naruto to be objective, and objectively, this was glorified stalking. It's actually pretty hard to hang around ninja a lot without being caught. They're so good at noticing stuff. Naruto was pretty good at escaping, but once the ninja noticed something was off they'd be on their guard and Naruto would have to cut his losses and find a new ninja to watch. So he was kind of limited to more mediocre ninja, but that was okay enough. Like Fuzzy says, learn the easy stuff first and the hard stuff will be less hard. At one point Naruto found a weird guy with an unnaturally shiny bowl cut and a crazy green jumpsuit. He was almost morbidly fascinated by the clearly mentally unstable guy who also was ridiculously good at taijutsu, but immediately ran away when the guy noticed him. Crazy guy followed him for a while, proclaiming something about youth and wanting to help teach someone so youthful, but Naruto was having none of that. Crazy guy was almost as creepy as pervy sage, and there was absolutely no way Naruto was dealing with that. Still, Naruto got to watch a few shinobi training over the next few weeks. The scrolls in the library were pretty helpful. Sasuke was surprisingly fine with sharing a little of his clan's taijutsu too. Even Hinata shared a little, after some prodding and a promise not to tell anyone. All in all, this seemed like a pretty good strategy. Kurama. Well, it wasn't perfect but it did help Naruto make some progress. Kurama supposed that was better than nothing. Naruto's general style was probably going to be a mishmash of whatever he could scrounge together, but that might be a good thing. He'd never be a master unless he got a real teacher, but he'd be passable, and maybe he'd get to be above average if he kept working hard at it. Kurama could accept that. Maybe he'd encourage Naruto to find a teacher in the future, but for now their best two options were a freak idiot pervert and a freak obsessed with youth and bowl cuts. Neither of them were touching that with a 10-foot pole for at least the next decade. Maybe their favorite Anbu would be a good person to sucker into it? Yeah, with that Sharingan of his he's probably used to working with a patchwork of styles. He might actually be the best candidate they've got. Somewhere far away, Kakashi shuddered. Naruto has a great idea. So he was practicing with his awesome transformation jutsu. You can really get anywhere when you're transformed into a bug. And he thought, why stop at one? After all, if one academy jutsu is so easy to improve and so useful when improved, why shouldn't Naruto try to improve another? Fuzzy had wholeheartedly agreed, so Naruto snuck into the library, which seriously needed better security, to get a scroll for the clone jutsu. Naruto spent the day trying to get it down, but he just couldn't do it. The theory was ridiculously easy to understand, but it was just impossible to pull off. Fine, that doesn't really matter anyway. If Naruto gets how it works, he just needs to improve it. He doesn't need to do the regular version if he can make a better one. All of Konoha shivered with a worrying sense of foreboding. Kurama. It turns out that a jutsu actually can be too pathetic to do. Kurama didn't even realize that it was possible to use that little chakra. I suppose that if a human is pathetic enough, they'd need a pathetic jutsu to match. That's fine. You're right, you don't need to be able to do the jutsu if you can do an improved version. I would suggest trying to make it solid. Most clone jutsus use a medium to make solid clones. For example, the earth clone jutsu infuses earth with chakra to make a functional, solid clone. But a medium isn't really necessary, it's only a way to conserve chakra. I have absolutely no medium, no physical body at all, but I am made of chakra so potent and dense that I have physical form. For someone like you, who has all of my chakra inside of you, making a clone that's a fraction of my size and power should be fairly simple. Naruto. Naruto eagerly started experimenting with making his clones solid. His first thought was to try adding more chakra. Fuzzy said that he was solid because he was made of a lot of chakra, so clones would probably be the same. Although the clones kept poofing away as soon as Naruto made them. He wasn't sure exactly what was wrong, but maybe just pumping them with a ton of chakra isn't enough. Maybe it was something about the original jutsu that meant you couldn't just shove them full of chakra and hope for the best. So Naruto looked at his scroll for a little longer. He was getting a little frustrated by this point. There's nothing in this jutsu that would make it explode. Most jutsu just get stronger when you overload them, so what was he doing wrong? Wait a second, most jutsu get stronger when they're overloaded, but the jutsus that Naruto is thinking about are jutsus like his great breakthrough, where the chakra is moving and dissipating. The clone jutsu is completely different. It's self-contained and doesn't dissipate until you tell it to. The only thing holding it together is the chakra itself, but if you overloaded the chakra past its limits. So you just have to improve its durability. Naruto's a genius. The next few weeks were a lot of trial and error, but by the end of the month Konoha was swarmed by thousands of blonde menaces, painting every surface he could find with a goofy smirking fox. Naruto. Fuzzy's been talking about meat a lot. Naruto isn't really one to judge. He talks plenty about ramen, but he thinks Fuzzy might be trying to hint at something. There's only so often when you talk about hunting and survival and stuff like that until you're probably trying to say something, right? Oh, maybe Fuzzy wants to teach Naruto how to hunt. That sounds awesome. It'd probably be a really useful shinobi skill too. Naruto skips off to tell Gigi he's going camping. Gigi is pretty confused, but Naruto clears it up by saying he thinks Fuzzy wants to teach him how to hunt. Naruto escapes while Gigi is panicking. Okay, what should Naruto bring? Oh, kunai. Naruto's been getting really good with kunai, and ninja probably use them to hunt stuff. Sasuke usually has some extras when Naruto's wear out, so he'll stop by Sasuke's house. Naruto should probably bring some food and blankets and stuff too. He should stop by his apartment first, actually. Gigi will probably have a bunch of the Anbu there to catch him so he doesn't go camping to learn from Fuzzy. That's fine, though. Naruto's really good at getting away from those guys. So, what else should he bring? Kurama. Kurama is pleased with this development. His little idiot brat is getting smarter. Of course it'd be a great idea to learn how to hunt. So what if Kurama may have sped along the realization a bit? He'd prefer if Naruto started asking him about things instead of just waiting for him to chip in with his thoughts when Naruto's already doing something. Besides, this may not be his child, but what kind of self-respecting fox would let a young kid never learn how to hunt? The shinobi will wait too long and worry too much about Kurama corrupting the kid, or something stupid like that. Be better caretakers and teach him how to take care of himself already. Actually, Kurama has a thought. Hey Naruto, you've gotten us a little out into the woods, but I can teach you more effectively if we share chakra. It doesn't have to be a lot, but if the shinobi looking for you sense it, they'll freak out and probably won't stop trying to catch you to try to contain me for the rest of your life. They're already pretty on edge as it is. We should probably head out farther tomorrow so we can communicate and they won't notice. Not incredibly far, I can conceal my presence somewhat after all, and you're very good at being sneaky, but far enough that it'll be much harder for them to find you. Naruto. Naruto was happy to spend the day getting as far away from the ninja as he could if it meant he could talk more with Fuzzy. He hadn't really gotten to have an actual conversation last time, so he was really looking forward to this. Naruto didn't have as much practice with disappearing into a forest as he did in a village. He was covering his tracks as best as he could, with advice from Fuzzy of course, but Leaf Ninja tend to be very good at tracking through forests. He'd probably get caught at some point, so he figured he'd just get far enough away and cover his tracks just well enough to have time to hunt as much as he could. Getting caught wasn't the end of the world anyway, since he was planning on going back once he was done. Naruto wished that Gigi wasn't so scared to let him talk with Fuzzy. It's not like he was gonna start rampaging in the streets or something. Actually, he kind of already did that on Halloween. And the time he first tried coffee, and the cookies. Actually, every time he has coffee. But those were a different kind of rampage. Fuzzy has totally never convinced Naruto to ever do anything that was a bad idea or bad for the village at all. So Naruto spent the day getting as far out into the woods as he could, and ate the food he packed for dinner before he started hunting. Kurama, you want to focus on the scents and sounds. Sight is good, but it will only take you so far. Night is the ideal time for a fox to hunt, so sight only does so much. Besides, hearing and smell are far better developed. Try patrolling a bit. Move carefully but quickly. Just be sneaky. You want to cover a fair amount of ground to increase the odds of running into something. Naruto is taking well to Kurama's hunting instructions. It helps that Kurama had Naruto transform into a fox. Hunting this way is far more natural. And it might help Naruto improve his hunting skills in his natural form, too. Either way, it's just easier for a fox to teach another fox how to hunt rather than a fox trying to teach a human. Keep an ear or nose out for small things. Things like rodents and small birds are best for a fox your size to hunt. It had been a few hours. Naruto was used to tracking people's movement through his emotional powers, but animal emotions feel a bit different from human ones. Still, he was learning fast. He'd almost caught a rat earlier. Although it was probably better he didn't get that one. Rats are vicious when they're caught. Kurama paused when he noticed Naruto had stopped moving. It seemed he'd noticed a bird. Alright, crouch down. Imagine that you're a coiled-up spring. Watch it, jump. Naruto was very proud of the bird he caught. Kakashi. Kakashi was downright flabbergasted when he finally found Naruto, who was apparently on his way back to Konoha with a few big sacks full of meat in tow. He said he had just come out so far so that Fuzzy could teach him how to hunt, and now he was going home for a celebratory meat party. Kakashi is too tired for this. He follows Naruto back to Konoha, gives the Hokage his report, and crashes. He doesn't want to know why a bunch of random shops and houses had bags of meat dumped in front of them, labeled as presents from Naruto with a cute fox face doodle on the note. Everyone in Konoha has given up questioning anything concerning Naruto, so they're just holding a big grill party in the marketplace to get rid of it all. Naruto. Naruto was so done with Gigi right now. Gigi cornered Naruto in his apartment and has spent a solid 2 hours trying to get Naruto to see reason. No way. Naruto is never letting any perverts near his belly. He remembers Fuzzy's talk vividly, and has absolutely no desire to do that. Thank you very much. He can feel his respect for Gigi dying more and more each second. And Gigi can totally tell just by the look on Naruto's face, so why won't he just cut his losses and leave Naruto alone? Gigi looks at Naruto tiredly. Hey, you're the one who wants to lecture me, Gigi. We can stop whenever you want. What if I gave you something? You've been looking into your father, right? I could give you some of his fuinjutsu notes. They'd be a bit advanced for you, but I could throw in more beginner and intermediate scrolls to supplement them. Now that got Naruto interested. He stopped to think. It was definitely tempting. It'd still be pretty hard without a teacher, but Naruto's no stranger to learning by scrounging what he can from watching ninja. It'd be way easier with guide scrolls and a master's notes. And them being his father's notes just made it even more awesome. Still, the more Naruto thought about it, the more unfair it seemed. True, it was his father, but his father was also very dead. He wouldn't be able to talk Naruto through things or help him figure out stuff he didn't understand. Why should he trade a living and very smart teacher for a dead guy's notes? Fuzzy had a really unique perspective. There really wasn't a ninja teacher who could replace him. Plus, Naruto was a little offended that Gigi would use his dead father against him. That's pretty low, even for a pervert. What if I made it a game? I could teach you how to play poker, and if you can defeat both me and Jiraiya, we'll give you those fuinjutsu scrolls and promise to leave Fuzzy alone. But if we win, you have to let us modify your seal to stop Fuzzy from talking to you. Deal. Kurama. Well, it's very comforting that Naruto will bet away Kurama the first chance he gets. He's definitely getting academy lectures as dreams for the next few weeks. Kurama is more than a little annoyed as he watches the old fossil teach his brat how to play poker. Seriously, what kind of role model is the monkey? Out of all the games, did he have to teach a 6-year-old poker? He could have just said something like Uno, but no, let's teach the kid how to gamble. Real great thinking, Grandpa. Kurama is even more annoyed as he realizes that Naruto isn't even paying attention to the rules. Hello, your precious teacher is on the line. Then Kurama notices the overwhelming feeling of pure smugness radiating through Naruto's head. Like that heady feeling when he's just about to pull off some huge prank. What, is he going to win by shredding the cards into confetti? Maybe drop some paint on the experienced veteran ninja and hope they drop their cards or something? What happens next has Kurama face-planting into the disgusting sewer water. Jiraiya. This is it. All Jiraiya has to do is trounce Minato's kid in poker, and then they can save him from being manipulated by the Kyuubi. Jiraiya puts his game face on. Yes, Naruto seems to not be paying attention at all while Sarutobi-sensei explains the rules, but this is Naruto. The bane of the Anbu and policemen alike. He has a habit of being completely unpredictable. Jiraiya will not let his guard down. He will win, and he will stay vigilant for any trap the kid might. Most beautiful holy jutsu 10 out of 10. Jiraiya's mind goes completely blank. Sarutobi-sensei passes out from a nosebleed. The kid cheers. Jiraiya comes back to himself, to see that he has dropped his cards face up. He looks back toward the kid. Best of 3? Nope. THSTA all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.